Today, folks, you're in luck because I brought back Brian Bogert. If you guys don't know who Brian Bogert is, go look at No Limits, Y-O-U, NoLimitsU.com, and you'll know. Also go to BrianBogert.com?
BrianBogert.com.
But, dude, he's already been on. I don't bring many people back, but I had to bring this dude back. Now, basically, what, you're 7 years old or something?
Yeah, 7 years old.
Yeah, your arm torn off, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully sewed it back on, but lost, like that kind of tragedy at an early age, dude. What's that like?
Oh, dude, it shapes your world.
Like everybody was coming over. What'd your arm feel like? Pain from that day forward.
Yep.
Fuck. See,
still live with it, and you know,
but
I
you
got
manage it.
Huh?
You do manage it.
Well, as best as I can, and every once in a while, it gets the better of me. But that's kind of where pain is, right?
You ever heard of Nick Sananastasio?
I've heard the name. Yeah.
You know Amberly Lago?
I don't.
Dude, I got to get you connected with these two. Keep going.
Okay.
So last story we talked about all that. What I want to talk about is, like, you know, nowadays you're out there helping people basically change their life.
Yeah.
Now, what makes you so passionate to do that?
Well, I know what it's like to feel isolated. I know what it's like to feel alone. I know what it's like to feel unworthy. I know what it's like to feel defeated.
So you just feel bad for people?
No. I just know that when I bought into the narratives of the world and became the person the world wanted me to be versus who I already was.
Who'd the world want you to be?
Somebody that fit in the box, that chased the what.
So when you say world, you mean society.
I'm going to say society, world, culture, organizations, people in it. I mean that by everything. It's the voices of the world. So anything that's outside of myself, I view as the world.
I know, but I'm trying to get clarity for the listeners.
Yeah. Anything outside of myself is the world.
Because when someone tells me, you know, well, the world wanted me to be something, well, I always say the world don't give a fuck about us.
You're right, but they care when you don't fit in the normal box, right? From the time we're born, look, we're born as the most bright, burning, authentic light we're ever going to be.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily think that they care.
They care when it's different.
Not if you're saying the world.
So does the world care about every single individual and care to actually lift people up? No, it doesn't.
Doesn't give a rat's ass.
But the world and everybody in it, by the way, all does try to feel safe, feel protected, seen and understood and connected, right? That's the root of the human experience.
Yes. However, there are people that would not want to see you succeed. Yes or no?
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is, though?
But what do you call those people?
Oh, they're just negative. They're toxic. They're shaming.
Let's call them an antagonist.
Yeah, antagonists. Great name.
So there's a lot of antagonists in the world, and then there's a lot of protagonists. Pro meaning they're for you.
Correct.
Who do you want to hang out with?
Pro.
Who do you probably hang out with? Not you personally. I'm talking about people.
Antagonist.
Yeah, they're surrounded by antagonists. Yep. They don't even realize it. They're staying frustrated, and like the words you use that makes everybody connect, you know, they're feeling this and that. Like I can't even run through them. Why? Because I don't identify with them. When someone says, Brad, what's your problem? You know what I say? I don't even have problems. I have opportunities.
But the problems that we talked about last time are real.
Problems are real. The perspective that you look at them is what you can control.
Right. Is it a problem that's going to keep you stuck, or are you going to find a way to create an opportunity out of it? And that's what you're saying. You're taking problems and you don't view them as just like, oh, these are the problems, I have to deal with them. You view the problems through the lens of what do I need to focus on? And where does the opportunity come as a result of the problem?
Yes, but I also don't even recognize it as a problem, meaning I don't see problems.
Oh, well, there you go. So meaning you're looking at stuff and you don't see any resistance or energy drain in your world in anything that you do.
No problem.
Well, then good. Then you should be bottling that shit up and teaching the world how to tap into that with no problems ever.
It's hard to teach the world. Do you know where it starts though?
Where? Yep, inside,
internally,
which is exactly what we talk about. It's the
internal
journey.
You get to a point where you understand, like, these challenges, these delays, these issues are there simply
to point you at what's important.
No, well, that's a good way to put it. But yet everybody wants to almost even ignore it all.
Oh, they do.
When in reality, why would you do what? That's not what you do, man. So when you said, hey, let's just ham and egg it. What's ham and egg in it? Is that a saying that I've missed for 50 years?
I don't know if it's a real saying or one I made up, but it's one I've used for a long time.
So ham and egg, it means
I think
what?
ham and egging means like, let's just play off of each other. Ham and egg plays off each other, right? We always know this. It's like the what the traditional breakfast. It's
So
like
I could say let's pancake and syrup it.
Sure,
Same thing.
Sure. Peanut butter and jelly it. Whatever the hell you want, Brad.
Well, I've never heard ham and egg it, dude. That's like a show business term.
Well, then I think we should just start our own podcast together, and we'll just ham and egg it, and that'll be the call. Ham and egg. So the question is, are you the ham or are you the egg? I don't know.
I'd like to take a vote. You know, a lot of people might say I'm the ham.
Well, didn't you just do a comedy show? I'm pretty sure you'd fit into the ham.
I'd like to say that I'm the egg, though.
Why?
Well, because the egg is the, you know,
it's the anchor.
No, it's the guarded. You know what's inside. Like you've heard the old saying with the eggs. If an egg breaks from the outside, it dies. Mm-hmm. But if it breaks from the inside, it lives.
I have not heard that saying, and I think that's a beautiful one.
Isn't that crazy? If
That's
you think about it, it's like, holy shit, that makes a lot of sense.
But bro, that's exactly what
that
we
shell's
talk
getting
about
broken
is teach people to focus on their internal world versus their external world.
Hey, by the way, No Limits You.
Yes, sir.
That is where you will train people or teach people step by step, 24/7, on demand, at their own speed, exactly how to what, if you had to put it in a sentence.
How to see themselves more clearly, put their life in intentional alignment so that it can become self-regulating over time, and they recognize which noise in their world is just noise so they can focus on what they want to. The reality of it is we unpack emotional triggers. We unpack different ways of thinking and goal setting and the way that we can identify with ourselves. We teach people to look at themselves more authentically. So when you talked about the world, right, and you brought it back to you, you don't see problems because you focus on you. At the end of the day, all of our entities are focused on the who before what. Because I genuinely believe the world has conditioned us and trained us to look at the what. We talked about this last time, right? What house, what car, what amount of money. But we lose who we are in the process. And that's why most people are miserable. And that's why I'm so dedicated to helping people, because I chased the outside definition of success versus my own for so long. And that's what most people do, which is why they end up repeating the same patterns and why they end up feeling stuck and not like they can get where they want, because they don't align with who they are. So we teach people to get back to who they are and who they're doing this for so they can really target who they want to impact in this world.
Where'd you go to school?
University of Redlands.
Where's that?
Small private school in Southern California.
What'd you graduate with?
A BS in business and a BA in psych.
I got a BS in business.
Yeah, I'll bet you do.
And a BA in psych?
Yeah.
When'd you graduate? How old were you?
I graduated in 2007.
So how old were you?
How old was I? I was 21, and I'm 36 now.
Okay, so at 21 years old, dude, you didn't know none of this shit you're saying right now.
I was experiencing a lot of it, but I did not apply it in my life.
Well, it means you didn't know none of this shit. If I had 21-year-old Brian Bogert here, he wouldn't be saying all this shit. No, I'd be sitting here trying to be
the smartest guy in the room.
You would not be knowing what you know today.
Hell no.
And by the way, 10 years from now,
it's gonna be the same.
You'll know way more than you do today.
Not even a question.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So at 21 though, you get out of college. What are you doing with your life? Who are you?
I was schlepping insurance. I wanted to make a shitload of money and
life insurance.
Employee benefits. So it was more on the corporate side. So B2B, risk management, employee benefits.
Where'd you get your leads?
I cold called.
So you just cold called businesses? Mm-hmm. How'd you get through the gatekeeper?
It was a variety of ways. I often would try to just position myself not from trying to sell something, but I would either look for ways to create attention. I would separate myself in the way that I was having a conversation.
Did you do well?
Yeah, I did very well.
So that always makes me wonder, like, what are these people thinking? And they go, well, how? Sell something.
We sell in everything we do if we actually pay attention to that. When I say that, here's the thing. I actually don't sell anything anymore. I just focus on people, value, relationships, and impact. The reality of it is if you highlight enough value, people will want to buy from you. You don't even have to sell. So in the beginning, I felt I had to sell, right? I was forcing it. I was fighting it. I was constantly climbing the uphill battle. It's like I'd bang my head against the wall with cold calls. And this is the interesting thing. It's actually come full circle in a philosophy in life, which I did not know at 21. By the way, this is very recent in the last couple of weeks. Dude, I've been fighting my whole fucking life. Everything. Fighting always, feeling like I'm being oppressed, feeling like I'm put into a position, feeling like I gotta get uphill. Like, am I ever gonna make any money? Am I ever gonna be successful, right? Like truly fighting. Because I had a chip on my shoulder that I didn't even realize was there for a long ass time. So I had to fight that chip on my shoulder.
Why was that chip there?
Well, from the second I can remember after my accident, nobody ever believed my own story. I've
What
not
do you
been
mean?
seen and understood for a whole variety of my life. Why do I mean?
What do you mean they don't believe
When I'm
your
at 7,
story?
8, 9, 10 years old and I'm in a sling and I've got a teddy bear in between here because I had to have it at 90 degrees rotated out, right? How many people would come up to me and be like, whoa, what happened to your arm? Expecting me to fall off a jungle gym or crash a bike. And I'd look at them and say, I was run over by a truck and my arm was torn off. And immediately their jaws would drop and then they'd look to my parents for validation. They didn't believe me. I was a 7, 8, 9-year-old making up a story.
Well, that's because it's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable, but the point is what was conditioned into my world. That my own truth, my own narrative was not.
That people don't believe you?
Correct. So I had to fight for my own voice for a long time. So I've been fighting uphill, right? Sales is the same thing. Okay? Sales is the same thing. But it's like, here's the thing. What I don't want to create separation. When we fight, what do? We pendulum swing, right? And when we're too abundant, sometimes we tell ourselves we can't be abundant. So we fight to scarcity. And then we fight scarcity and we become abundant. There's this pendulum swing. But that's why everything's polarized and politicized, because everything right now is between black and white. It's this way or that way. And we've lost the fact that the gift is in the gray area. So when I realized that when I've been fighting my whole life, right? Fighting actually overtakes opposition. I don't need to overtake. I'm not trying to overtake. Fighting is about winning. I love to win, but here's the funny thing. I hate to lose more than I like to win. So either way, I'm fighting. So if I recognize that selling is the same thing, I was fighting. I had to prove that I was the smartest guy in the room. I had to prove that we're the ones with the greatest solutions. I had to prove all these things. That's selling, right? When you'd walk in and sit down with a CFO and they'd say, hey, why are you the best company to work with? Before we even talked about anything else, at 21, I vomited all over their desk because of course that's what I did. I wanted to tell them why we were so good. But when I actually surrendered and realized that I could neutralize and diffuse and actually get back to that gift in the gray area, I could see what was in it for the other person. I could understand where I could actually add value. I could detach from the outcome and I could focus on genuinely helping that other individual. And I could stay centered and pure in my own. I no longer have to fight. The resistance and energy drain can be removed from my life. So holistically, that's what I focus on. But in sales, bro, that's what happened. Early in my career, I was fighting. I had to fight to prove that I could sell something.
At 24, what'd you do?
I left the firm that I was with and had an opportunity to go become a partner. And that's where the next 10 years took off.
A partner in a firm?
Yeah. We grew it from $250,000 to $15 million over the span of a decade. And
what constitutes a firm?
I would say that
is Lightspeed a firm?
It could be, yeah. I mean, dude, it's the
I need to know
specifics
what
of
a
language.
firm.
It's probably just the industry language that we use. There's firm, agency, call it whatever the hell you want.
Well, what was it?
I called it our firm, but
you sold insurance?
We sold consulting around insurance. We placed the insurance, but 95% of what we did wasn't in the placement. It was in the risk management strategies and approaches we did to help them manage costs.
But you did well.
Did very well.
You made money.
Made a bunch of money.
And you learned and, networked and, everything was going good. But I'm trying to figure out, where was the shift where you're like, fuck all that, dude. I'm going to go show everybody how to get out of their own way.
So it was 6 months after I had my son. Okay. My first kid.
What age were you?
I was 28.
Okay.
And 6 months after, I realized that I wasn't the husband, man, and father that I always said I was and was going to be. Meaning I always said I was going to do everything for the benefit of my family. And I was, but I wasn't present in any way. So I was burning the candle at both ends, still growing our business, making good money. So I was providing for them financially. I was providing for them from a physical protection standpoint, but I wasn't there from a leadership, love, and emotional standpoint. I just wasn't. And so it was the first time in my life that I didn't feel like I had the people in my network, nor did I feel like I had the skill set myself to figure it out. And I went out and I hired my first coach. And I interviewed, by the way, 15. The first 14 were an inch deep and a mile wide. It was all bullshit. It was all like just stuff that had no relevance and credibility. There was no ability to actually help me. It was truly just like systems that they'd bought into. They didn't really have the perspective to be able to glean into my world. And so when I ended up landing with this person, it was a month into working with me. He goes, Bogert, you got to be doing this. I said, what are you talking about, man? I was like, fuck off. I'm paying you a lot of money not to tell me how great I am, but to help me figure out this other stuff. He goes, no. Like your personal story and what you do in business. He's like, you've built businesses and built people your whole life. You coach, you naturally do these things from a philanthropic perspective. He's like, you need to be leaning in. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And I put it off. Every month I talked to him for the next 9 months, he kept trickling it till the universe gave me all the signs I needed, which was to lean in and say yes. So I did. I stood it up 6.5 years ago, ran it alongside my other business for 5 years. And the more I kept coaching and speaking professionally, the more I wanted to be spending time there because my wins were other people's wins.
Not only that, it's fun.
It's fun.
Not only that, it's like not really that difficult if you're good at it.
So there's truth to that in some capacities, and I think it's extremely difficult in other ways. But that's another point.
Do you think stand-up comedy is difficult?
I think it is for a lot of people.
No, I know, but like, you know, people would agree that going up and doing 10 minutes, you know, is fairly difficult.
Yeah. But you get some reps doing it, and I think you can handle it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm trying to think through, you know, something in my head that I thought would be kick ass to freaking make a point of, but
you lost it.
I'm either still working on it or I lost it because I'm like, well.
So then the egg should sit there and boil for a little bit longer, and the ham will take over and keep carrying until that thought comes back. How about that?
Do so.
Okay, so fast forward a little bit more. I'm doing all this.
I
like, where do we go? How are we coming full circle?
I remember now. So you're now helping other people watching this change, and it's fun.
Yeah.
You're traveling around. Your wife, what's she saying?
She's loving that, and that's exactly where I was going.
She says, this is awesome.
July of 2019. So I'd already been running for 4 years.
So no more firms.
No more firms.
You sold your firms. You were firm on that.
I was firm on selling my portion of the firm back to my partners.
How much happier are you now?
Oh, dude, it's not even funny. It was July of 2019, though, to my wife. I have to give her credit right here, right now. Because, like, truly, it was her that helped push me.
Now, did you write a book?
Not yet.
When are you going to write a book?
You
can't have this journey without a book.
I've got them in the works. It's got to be the right timing and the right book.
Well, dude, you better get busy.
Yeah, I'm busy.
Because I think a book changes things.
Life is full.
Well, you
just dropped yours.
Well, not officially, but you know, this episode will announce that it is on Amazon, and it will. But I guess you're supposed to do a launch date. You know, where you get everybody to buy it at one time or some shit like that. So
that's what the world's telling you, huh?
Score up in the rankings. No, that's what the people that have done books before me have told me.
There you go.
Like anytime you see #1 best-selling, dude, you can literally buy that. Okay, so it doesn't mean shit. Okay, you got to read the dude's book if you want it. Yeah. If you want to know if it's worth something or not, and then you need to go read the reviews.
Yeah,
that's what's good about reviews on books. Like it can say New York Times best-selling, but if all the reviews say this is bullshit,
that's right.
Don't get the book.
Yeah.
But yeah, my book. But
there will be books.
I know, but people I've talked to before, because my book hasn't been out yet either. But people I know with a book that's out, they're like, dude, that book literally will change, like open all kinds of doors, get you interviews and speeches and all this bullshit. Good. If it goes crazy, dude, it's a whole nother game.
It's absolutely a credibility piece, and it can help a lot of people. So it's in the works.
Who's your influencers?
Oh man, honestly, like right now, my greatest influences and teachers are my kids. Truly.
That you're what?
My kids.
They're the biggest influencer
right now.
Is that apparent in your style? Do your kids wear t-shirts and backwards ball caps?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who influences you on, like, you know, where to go and what movies to watch?
Me. Dude, I don't listen to the outside anymore. I don't consume news. I don't consume a lot of other people's content. I'm like really focused. I know who I am. I know who I'm doing this for, and I know who I'm going to impact.
Everybody, if you guys ain't following him, by the way, where do they follow you on social media?
At Bogert Brian.
At Bogert Brian, Bogert, right?
Yes, right.
That's where you follow him. Go to brianbogert.com. Check out more what he does. And the reason I say that is because if you follow this dude, you get most of the information for free because you're dropping knowledge left and right.
I drop it left and right because we want to elevate and empower people, man. That's what we're here for. Well, I got to finish this, though.
Well, real quick, though. Who's the avatar? Like when you say I was this, I was that, what's that general avatar in life? Where you can really help this person, this kind of person right here.
I'm going to answer the question in two ways, right? There's the one-to-one coaching, and then there's like courses and our other coaches and our other speakers and other things, right? So in the one-to-one, the ones that I'm going to help the most hands-on, we are looking at entrepreneurs, business owners that either have lost who they are feeling stuck in some way or feeling some resistance, and they're not able to break through that next ceiling. I don't care if it's in relationship, health, work, because we work on the inside out. So it's the emotional triggers, behavioral patterns, and environmental conditioning. We help giants become legends by helping them grab what they think is just out of their grasp, right? We literally start on the inside and help them work through it, because that is how we can help people do things. And so I could give you a whole bunch of different things, but I would say that my very common avatar is, I'm going to say men between the ages of 40 and 55 on average. And typical income is $500,000 plus. And those are the individuals that are in the one-to-one capacity with me. I believe that the work that we do truly can transform and help anybody, which is why we have price points to be able to access as low as $50 a month to courses in the $600 range, to other types of coaching engagements in a one-to-one or group capacity, all the way up to my pricing.
Do you do like speaking events, or like events, live events?
Frequently.
Like workshops and shit?
Frequently.
So where do they find out those? BrianBogert.com?
BrianBogert.com. You can also go to IamNoLimits.com. IamNoLimits.com is a capture of a lot of our different entities. So we talked last time about there's 4 different entities that we have. So I Am No Limits is a great place to see what our entire team is doing. BrianBogert.com is a great place to see like where you can engage just me individually. And then obviously No Limits You is a great place just as a landing page. We're going to be doing a whole lot of stuff through Lightspeed. So that's just a fact. We're going to be partnering with you for a long time.
Well, good.
So I want to finish the story how you asked me how I get here, because it's important, and you brought up my wife.
Okay.
July of 2019, we go away on a weekend. Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, brother, man, it was one of those weekends we were one. Driving back to pick up our kids, she looks over at me and she says, "Hey, how would you feel if you didn't have to go to the office on Monday morning?" Flooded with fear, drowning in doubt, swirling in my sorrows, like all simultaneously just absorbing this, right? I look over, I was like, "Babe, that's a loaded question. Why don't you tell me more?" She said, "Hey, I think you let some of this health stuff enter into your world in a way that that has allowed fear to enter into your world in a way I haven't ever seen you operate." She said, "I think you've convinced yourself that we need the house, the status, the cars, the money, right? The partnership role in this firm." There you go. And she said, "But I'm here to tell you we don't. I don't care if we live in a cardboard box on the corner. What we need is 100% of you, and we don't have it." She said, "I also know that the longer you've been
did she say it as smoothly as that?
My wife is brilliant. Yeah, I steal her words all the time. I get 100% credit for what's only 50% mine, bro." So she goes, she comes in and she goes, "Hey, I know that you are barely scratching the surface of your potential. I know you're not having the impact on the world that you want. I don't think you're dying a little bit inside every day you spend on insurance." She's like, "Why don't we double down on the bet that we already took on you once and see what we can go do with the world?" And I spent 10 months unpacking.
And that hadn't occurred to you previously?
It had occurred to me. I was stuck and I needed that outside push, right?
Dude, that's why sometimes people are like, the perfect spouse is all it's like the last puzzle piece that someone might need.
My spouse is literally my greatest coach and mentor in life.
You have kids too?
We have 2. Yeah. So that's what got it started though, bro. So it was literally, she said, "Let's go do it." And now we're on a mission to impact 1 billion lives. And to your other question, I have never been happier. I've never had more joy. I've never had more freedom. I've never had more fulfillment. I get to play in my backyard playground every single day, building people and building businesses. And that's part of my motivation is I have the contrast now too. I know what it's like to be stuck and miserable, making a fuck ton of money. Everything looks great on the outside. You know how many people told me, "Don't do this, don't go away." But then I come over here and I'm like actually enjoying every minute of what I do. Everybody deserves to feel like this, I believe.
Well, I agree. And what's crazy is there's people that can. They just don't know how.
That's right. They don't know how. And so we're trying to show people the framework.
Is that NoLimitsYou.com?
NoLimitsYou.com.
And by the way, that's just where you guys go learn more. NoLimitsYou.com. I like what you're out there doing, dude. You and your buddy Nate.
Yeah.
Where is old Nate?
Nate's back home in Atlanta right now. We've got so many things going on. He's in execution mode while I'm flying around handling other stuff.
You guys are a good example of what people can do when they give a rat's ass.
Yeah.
You seem like you care.
I care deeply.
That's what I'm trying to dig out of you. Like, what for so much?
So
people always ask me, "Dude, why do you put out so much content?" And I said, and I think to myself, well, so people can freaking, avoid stupid shit and, get smarter. And then I really ask myself, why do I do that? And the real truth isn't so people can get the help. It's because I think maybe deep down, it's just an outlet. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like sometimes you just want to, some people write, some people go to the gym and work out.
I think there's a huge processing outlet that comes with what we do.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's one of the things that I'm drawn to is it's impossible for me to coach or speak and not have a mirror in my face all day long. meaning I will not say or do something unless I'm doing it myself or have done it. And I will also admit my faults. I mean, shit, last night I had anger and I snapped at my kids, right? Like I've been unpacking anger for months, but like I'll sit here and own to you, I am far from fucking perfect. I'm doing the work myself.
When you say unpacking anger, you'll like that's doable.
Oh yeah.
You think you can unpack anger?
So first of all, anger is not a core emotion. It's a secondary emotion. So you have to unpack whatever's below it. But yes, you can work through anger. It's been completely diffused in my world. That's literally the first time in 7 months that I've had a snap moment. And it's just because the demands of my environment exceeded my ability to cope. Yeah. But you asked the question like, why, right? Why do I do this? So you're forcing me to go there. So I'll take it there. I like that. I think there's a handful of things that have patterned in my life that have led me to care so deeply, but I'll tell you one of them.
Okay.
I'll tell you a couple of them.
Don't get emotional.
I won't. But even if I did, I wouldn't care. Because
hey, I got emotional the other day on stage at this event that I did, Driven. And, because I was talking about some emotional shit, so I got just a little choked up. Now, I normally, when I get in a situation like that, will make a joke or laugh or say something. Yeah, we
talked about that on the last call, that you always make a joke when you get uncomfortable. Yeah.
So anyway, this time I didn't. I just, choked up a little bit.
And the room probably leaned into it, by the way.
Well, I don't know about leaned into it, but I got a bunch of, DMs and people afterwards going, I liked seeing that side of yourself.
But Brad, there's truth to that.
I know, but it's like, what, am I supposed to come out and be more emotional?
No, but you know what you did is you showed the human side to you. And so what you did there is true strength actually hides behind vulnerability, bro. Like it's just a fact. We put that armor up though to protect ourselves, and that armor prevents us from.
Is the armor not crying?
No, dude, the crying is the manifestation of the emotion. It's not what you're feeling.
Yeah, it's the emotion.
We got to separate the external like manifestation of emotions and what we feel inside. That's again another example. Focus inside. If you're feeling it, it's real. Period. I'm not a crier, but do I cry? I have. Right? But
and
it's the emotion
inside. And you're willing to.
And I'm willing to if I need to.
Well, of course.
Right?
Dude, that'd be against your brand.
It would be against my brand.
If you didn't
I'm not embarrassed to cry. I conditioned myself not to for so long. It's not a natural response for me.
All right, well, again, I was just throwing it out there. Just wondering if you're getting emotional.
I won't cry.
Because you got prepared to say, okay, you want me to go there? I'll go there. I thought that was a tee up.
It's
getting
deep. It's getting
shit.
deep. Here we go. No, I appreciate the challenge because I do care deeply. I think there's a handful of things that have happened in my life. One, I always look back and reflect on the fact that the nurse that walked out of that store when my arm got ripped off could have chosen to turn her head and go on with her day instead of going to action and help me.
Well, of course she could have.
I would not be living if it was not for her choice to come and save my life. Period. She saved my life by stopping the bleeding on my main wound.
Dude.
Yeah, but do you know how many people don't? I just never lose sight of that because I'm always going to be the person that's going to turn into action to help somebody versus not.
Well, but that's good. But when you say that to me, dude, and I can't believe that I'm the only person that would think this. I think to myself, who wouldn't fucking help the kid that just got smashed by a fucking truck? Like,
well, there were 3 surgeons
who would go in about their day. Like nobody would. And if they would, they're fucking assholes.
There were 3 surgeons in the Valley at the time, Valley of the Sun, Phoenix, that were capable of a reattachment surgery. One was out of town. One had just worked a 12-hour day and refused to do the surgery.
Prick.
The last had just worked a 12-hour day and saw that I was a 7-year-old boy, and he decided, I'm going to lean in and do help, right?
Well, again, you got lucky in those cases. But again, to me,
yeah, it makes.
I've worked 12 hours and some little boy who just got smashed by a truck sitting there with his arm. And I know if I don't get that thing back on, it ain't going back on.
Yep.
Dude, I'm going to freaking scrub up.
Yep. But guess what? That's also because you've got a heart. And that's what we talked about on the last call too. You actually care deeply too. The second thing though.
I think a lot of people do.
I think a lot of people do, but they don't know how to show their care. Right?
What's the second thing?
When I was feeling sorry for myself in the hospital, laying in that bed, it was the families coming up to us afterwards saying, we're so sorry for what happened to you, and learning that their kid's laying in the ICU bed next to me with a terminal illness. I couldn't get the words out. The terminal illness, not knowing if they're going to live another 30 days. My life was secure at that point.
Yeah.
Whether or not I had my arm. And then over the next 10 years, working with them in a philanthropic capacity, I lost a number of those kids that I was raising money with, helping the hospital with, doing good for. They lost their battle to their thing.
Yeah.
I'm still here. I'm happy, healthy, and productive.
Yeah.
18 months before I left to go into doing this absolutely full time, 100% of my focus, I lost 6 men I knew to suicide. Why do I care so deeply? because there are still people getting missed. There are still people that are hurting.
Yes, there are.
There are people who are suffering, right?
Shit
I want
tons
to teach people to embrace pain, to avoid suffering. That is my whole goal. Impacting 1 billion lives means reducing the level of suffering on this planet. I know what it's like to suffer. And I have been fortunate enough to have the strength, both physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, to be able to move through that. But not everybody does. So can I help alleviate some of the weight that somebody else is carrying?
Yeah, but so when you say stuff like that, it makes me think, well, dude, then your perfect avatar is somebody that just went through some traumatic thing.
Not always.
Not at all. Like you can help people that don't have any issues, if you ask me, because they just don't know how.
They don't know how. And
Like,
there's
they
a lot
don't
of people who
need
don't know what they
issues.
don't know.
I know, but when you say it like the way you say it, you guys are good wordsmiths. But when you say it the way you say it, it emotes a, there's probably some lost soul somewhere out there that, you're going to help and save their life and whatnot, which I'm sure there are. But there's way more people that they're not lost souls. They just don't have the fucking map.
Yeah.
To get there. And if they're listening right now, how do you know? How do I know? Just look at your bank account. Well, it's not all about money. Look at your life. Look at your relationships. Look at your level of happiness. Are you frustrated? Are you depressed? Are you happy with your life? If the answer is no, well, then you got to be missing some information.
Yep. It's a fact. That's why I say my avatar for my one-to-one work is a little more specific just because of the people who can afford me with the money. But our solutions span literally towards the human experience.
Do you find that when you coach people one-on-one that in retrospect, you didn't really tell them anything they didn't know? You just kind of reminded them?
Yeah, I think that there's actually a combination of both. I think sometimes it is telling them things they don't know. I think the root of all suffering is rooted in 4 things, right? It's the things that are left unsaid, the things we don't feel permission to feel or say, the things we don't have the words to articulate, or the things that are left undone, right? So often it's second and third, right? That I'm helping people with, giving them permission to feel and say certain things and giving them the words to articulate it.
Dude, if anyone complains about this audio file, they're going to be fucking out. I always hear people in the comments, I couldn't hear your guest.
I don't think there's going to be a problem with my hat.
No, you are a enunciator and you project well. Did you ever have any official speaker training?
I have not.
You just went out there and started speaking from the heart, I assume.
I've had a loud ass voice and I've been on stages since I was 7 telling my story. So
Since you were 7?
Well, dude, my arm came off, and guess what? You think a hospital doesn't want to leverage my story for the benefit of raising money? That's exactly what happened. I was on Children's Miracle Network.
Listen, when they sewed it back on and you were laying in bed, you wake up, you got your arm back there. They're probably exactly the same, except this one's now, sore. You
Super
can't move
swollen
it,
and big, yeah.
and you can't move it.
Mm-hmm.
Could you move it?
No.
So you knew, like, oh shit, there's just a limb torn off, and now it's there again, but you couldn't, move it, and it hurt like hell, I would imagine.
Well, and I had phantom pains because, again, it was ripped off, so the nerves weren't reattached at that point. My hand was throbbing with no physical way to possibly feel it. You want to understand, like, people understand this. People who've amputated limbs and different things. Really weird thing is to feel a hand that you can see, but know that there's no technical physical way for you to be really feeling it. It was all in my head.
Yeah, well, I've done that with my foot sometimes.
When it falls asleep.
Yeah. Like, dude, one time I woke up and I was laying on my arm wrong and I couldn't move my arm at all, to the point where I started getting scared. Like, did I kill my arm?
Yeah.
Because it was 100%. I couldn't feel it when I whacked it. I couldn't tell myself to raise it. It was just straight there. And it freaked me out. And after about 20, 30 seconds, I started being able to feel it. And I was like, oh my God.
Imagine prolonging that experience over the course of 5 years.
Yeah, no, I don't want to.
Because that's what I had to do.
So that developed your mind.
Oh, yeah.
And it could have went either way right there. You could have turned into a freaking psychopathic killer. All for naught, by the way, even if you had went that way. I don't think that justifies anything. Like, as far as fucking, I'm going to start, being this depressed. Like, dude, when I first met you, I didn't even realize until you told me.
Most people don't, which is funny to me because it's 4 inches shorter and smaller. So for me, it's really obvious. But dude, I just spoke at a men's retreat last weekend. on stage, we're talking 20 people, right? I was with them the night before and I told my story, and it was in the moment that I told my story, one dude's jaw, I've got it on video, we're gonna put it on social. His jaw literally dropped for 45 seconds. He comes up to me afterwards, he's like, I didn't even know. I've had friends for 5, 6, 7 years, and I'll make a comment about my arm and they'll be like, what? I don't understand how people don't notice, but the point is I don't coddle it because why? It's something that happened to me. I can deal with it.
And yeah, well, you can't do nothing about it. That's what I meant earlier when I said it's perspective.
It is. Perspective points us to what's important. I believe pain gives us perspective.
Yeah, but Brian, you've shifted your perspective about that arm. If someone got your arm tomorrow, or even including you, you would be bummed again.
Yeah.
And there's no fucking actual physical difference.
Correct.
It's all mental. And that's the bottom line. Boom. We're going to share a bomb. That's you know, sometimes when I'm talking, I'm really just thinking out loud. And I find that I talk through shit and learn while I'm doing it. Do you?
Yeah. It's one of the reasons I love being on stage. It's one of the reasons I love creating content. It's one of the reasons I love coaching. Because you genuinely have the ability to process things. But again, what's the root of all suffering? Things that are left unsaid, things we don't feel permission to feel or say, right? Things that we don't have the words to articulate, things that are left undone. External processing allows us to actually bring thoughts and feelings out into the world. So we are actually not containing it, bottling it up. It gives us the ability to process.
I know, but wherever you read that or wherever you formed that.
That came from inside my head.
Well, then I would disagree.
What is it?
What do you mean?
What do you think they are?
All forms of suffering come from those four things?
I think the majority of all suffering comes in those categories.
Well, again, that's fucking vague. The majority. So that there's a little hole in case anyone says, what about this? You'll be like, yeah, that don't count.
So
let me tell you what suffering is. Sitting on the fucking bed, laying down, smoking a bowl, and the cherry drops out and hits you on the fucking skin. Now, if that were to happen, is that considered suffering?
I think that's pain.
No. Well, that is pain. Unless someone holds you down and forces it to burn you. That would be suffering.
So I'm going to define suffering as differently than you.
I know you're talking about emotional.
Not even just that. I mean, I think there's physical too. I mean, the reality of it is pain is literally defined as short-term, intermittent, a direct cause from something and alleviated once the direct cause removed, right?
Say that again.
Pain is defined as short-term, intermittent, a direct cause from something and alleviated once that direct cause is removed.
It's defined as short-term?
Pain is defined as short-term. Look it up in the dictionary.
I believe you because, dude, that's too exact for you to be like just guessing.
And then we put adjectives in front of it, like acute and chronic. Acute maintains the definition, but chronic changes it.
Ain't nothing cute about pain, son.
Right? That's right. No, pain sucks, but it points us at what's important if we're listening.
I think the reason we have pain is to tell our survival instincts
points us at what's
do
important.
Something.
It's fight or flight.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's exactly right. Pain is an indication of where we need to go next. It gives us perspective.
Like if my hands just started burning, my body wants it to go, whoa,
Correct.
Because if I don't, it'll sit there and hurt me.
So suffering, I believe, is in that chronic pain category in the way that people have traditionally actually talked about it.
Chronic's worse than acute?
Oh, it's long-term. Because, oh, by the way, chronic changes the definition of
acute.
pain.
Acute sounds worse, doesn't it?
It does sound worse.
Like when someone says he has acute.
But chronic, right? It persists after the direct cause is removed, and it's no longer short-term. That's the definition of chronic. Let's stop calling it chronic pain and let's call it what it is. It's suffering. We don't admit that suffering exists when it's a direct result of our choices, right?
Did you ever like start drinking and
Oh, yeah. Dude, I drank in my early 20s because I was super insecure in my body. I don't drink as much anymore. I have occasional drinks, but I don't drink often.
You never get fucking tore up?
Not anymore.
Turnt?
I haven't in a few years, bro. I find it brings out all the worst parts about me.
I discovered that at about 48, 49 maybe.
That it brings out the worst parts in you?
Well, it just depends, but I haven't drank a lot lately. Not necessarily because I can or I don't want to be that person or any of that. It's because when I wake up the next day,
I feel like shit.
I feel less than.
One drink, I can tell the difference now.
I know, but me too. And I feel less than.
Correct.
And it's like, why would I make myself feel less than?
By the way, there's also a direct correlation to alcohol having been one of the most commonly used drugs for people to numb, and also highlighting the fact that it increases whatever you're trying to numb. Right? So I used to numb my insecurity and my shame. Right? Literally, I would drink to blend in a room because I have a social anxiety in some cases. Most people wouldn't know that because I'm not necessarily shy, But I get a social anxiety when I'm in a giant room because I lack depth of interaction. So what would I do? I'd drink alcohol because it would allow me to normalize myself.
You remind me of my Uncle Donnie.
Oh, yeah? How so?
Like when I forget what age, but he was like you are now.
How so?
Uncle Donnie. Plus he had that fucking mustache.
Dude, one of my business partners calls it the trust dash. I'll give you a kiss on your forehead.
Did you say trust dash?
The trust dash, yeah. I know. That cracks me up every time.
So, hey, listeners, hit this guy up and tell him you want to get a book out of him. Because, I mean, if you just sat down in solitude and just started writing a book with the words you use and the vocabulary that you have access to, it would just come out a whirling dervish of a book. Wouldn't it?
Say that again.
A whirling dervish of a book. You never heard of a whirling dervish?
No, I have not. You hadn't heard of ham and egg. I haven't heard of whirling dervish.
You haven't?
But what you just said when you said whirling, you reminded me of Family Guy with
define whirling dervish. Oh, let me let you have her say it. Define whirling dervish.
Dervish means a member of a Muslim, specifically Sufi, religious order, who has taken vows of poverty and austerity. Dervishes first appeared in the 12th century. They were noted for their wild or ecstatic rituals and were known as dancing, whirling, or howling dervishes according to the practice of their order.
So there we go, folks. It's a whirling dervish.
We're ham and egging.
We're ham and egg. This is ham and egging. This is the definition of it. See?
Hey, hold on. Let me see. Siri, define ham and egging.
Here's what I found.
Doesn't say anything.
See, so I made it up. There you go. But I don't think I made it up.
It says here, it says like the meaning of ham and egg in golf, ham and eggs, Wikipedia.
So there's definitions for it.
I know, but like I knew I didn't hear that before, like ham and egging. Let's ham and egg it. Is that almost like cheese it up?
I think it's different. I think cheese it up is more on the humor side, right?
Well, like he's a ham. He's ham and egging.
Yeah. So I think ham and egg is literally just the way they play off each other. So again, we could peanut butter and jelly it. I don't really care, bro.
That one sounds
what
more
goes
intimate.
Together.
Two dudes shouldn't be peanut butter and jelly.
No, I don't. I
anything.
agree. I don't think so either. That's why I said ham and egg.
Ham and egg. Let me think. I'll think of a good one. Almost like frickin', let's gun and bullet it. We're in the dropping bomb
we could
studio.
bomb and bullet it because you've got dropping bombs and I've got Bogert's bullets. So, we could bomb and bullet it. Let's go.
How about, those things where they drop the thing and it shoots the mortars?
Oh,
what are those called? I don't know. But that'd be a good one for this
That'd be fun.
theme.
That'd be fun.
Now, Brian, you offer a lot of free advice. Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do.
Which is that?
It's literally it's the Brian Bogert Companies. So,
but I mean, you post on there a lot.
We're starting to again. We took about a 3 or 4 month pause just because of where we were retooling stuff. We just started posting things again. So we do a lot of lifestyle stuff with vlogs and different things. We've got a regular series with Bogert's Bullets.
You post regularly.
Yes.
Are you worth subscribing to, sir?
I would say.
What's funny is people always hit me in the social media. They're like, dude, follow me back. And then I go, I'm about to follow him back. And I look and it says one post. Yeah. And then I think to myself, what the fuck am I following?
Yeah.
Like, why would I follow someone that isn't posting anything?
Yeah. Oh, I would agree. But you said it earlier, right? We put out a lot of stuff. We put out a lot of content because we want to elevate and empower people.
Hey, listen, if you guys want me to follow you, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go hashtag Brian Bogert. So you follow him too. And then I'll follow you back, but you have to go leave a review for my book.
Oh, there it is.
Hard way. And if you don't want me to follow you, well then fuck off.
See, the hard way, you've been fighting your whole life too, bro.
Well, again, dude, I wish I could sit here, especially and find the words you use to emote this almost like triumphant resurgence. But to me, it's like, dude, I haven't really fucking done anything. Like, I haven't fought. It's been pretty easy. Like I'm a lucky son bitch, dude. And I think when people start pointing out, no, what about this, dude? And I go, well, and they're like, dude, quit. I forget the word they use. What about this? What about this? Like, come on, dude, you know this was rough. And I'm like thinking to myself, I honestly, with nobody in the room, don't. Like,
because you've
I don't think
extracted
I've
the
had
lessons.
a fucking hard time. Like everything comes pretty fucking easy to me. I figure shit out pretty fucking quick. Always have.
Yep.
Like, you know, I was homeless on the beach. I chose to fucking sleep on the beach because I didn't want to fucking go home and I didn't want to fucking leave the city I was in and I didn't have any money. So that was the only option. Hey, sleep on the beach. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Get some fucking blankets and sleep on the beach. People pay big money to sleep on the beach.
Yeah.
So I don't think now when someone says, when you hit rock bottom, I don't go, oh, on that night on the beach, I was sitting there and I knew I couldn't have another day of this. You know, I wasn't thinking at all.
No.
Like
and
back
by the way,
back then, dude, I was fucking stupid. I was unaware that there was
You were
something called
blind.
personal development.
That's right.
There was no tapes and DVDs. Well, there were, but they were very expensive and only a few people had them. And hey, the word wasn't out that the shit actually works.
But here's the difference.
There were no resources like Brian Bogert.
When you're homeless on the beach versus living the life that you have now, it's perspective.
That's right.
Back then, it's all you had.
That's all I'm saying.
And here's what you've done.
My perspective.
So when I say fighting, your perspective in those moments wasn't that you fought.
That's right.
And what I will tell you is my perspective in my moments were not that I was fighting.
Well, why do you say it fighting now?
Because I'm very clear now that I recognize that the energy I was expending back then was actually fighting against where I wanted to become and who I wanted to be versus having everything that I desired right there.
Yeah.
You didn't desire to be homeless on the beach, just like I didn't desire to have my arm ripped off. But what you did is you recognized that that's where you were at in that point in life. You dealt with it. You went through it. And then what you've done as a result of it is you've taken the lessons that you could extract from those scenarios, became aware of them, and you become intentional with how you can actually apply them in your lives.
Can you remember in your head the exact fucking moment when the fucking truck's heading your way? And did you even see the truck?
Never. So I never saw it.
So you were like doing something like, you were just a little kid getting in the door and all of a sudden the truck just went blah.
So essentially.
And next thing you know, it smashed off your arm or ripped off your arm. Which one? Because there's a difference.
Oh no, ripped off 10 feet away.
So like,
all the way off, all the way off. That's like, where it came off, right here.
But it flung the son of a bitch.
It's 10 feet away
out. So so this nurse lady sees a little kid that just got smashed by a truck, arms over there, and you're bleeding out. I would imagine.
Mom and brother watch the whole thing happen. They look up and see my arm laying 10 feet away.
Can you see that in your head clearly?
I saw it for the very first time about 4 months ago. PTSD blocked it out completely. I was
gonna say because that would be like a nightmare memory of some kind.
I witnessed a pedestrian accident about 4 months ago where a kid was run over by a car.
Yee.
And when I witnessed that, I saw a lot of things I haven't seen in 29 years. So PTSD had everything blocked out, right? One of the roots of my anger, by the way, was my arm in my accident, and I didn't see it. Yeah.
But how would you know as a kid? You wouldn't.
Well, I didn't even know as an adult, but dude, I've been angry with my body for a long time.
Parents probably wouldn't even have been able to identify that shit. You'd had to have fucking psychologist parents or something.
Yeah. No, my parents were incredible. They were able to really.
You would have had to have been Jordan B. Peterson's kid.
Yeah.
He would have sat down and said, well, you know.
Yeah. But when I shut off physical pain just to cope back then, I also shut off emotional pain.
So who are your mentors, not your kids? Like who are your, who do you learn from? Like Jordan B. Peterson, for example. Yeah. Like who are the books that you're reading, the people that you find, hey, there's a smart son of a bitch.
So I have had many teachers. I love Brene Brown's work. I love Ryan Holiday's work.
I speak with Ryan Holiday at an upcoming keynote.
Really?
In March.
I love his work. He and I are aligned very similarly in the way
He'll be at this event called Momentum Builders coming up.
Well, geez, maybe I need to go to that.
I hope I didn't just let the cat out of the bag.
That he was.
Well, he's one of them. I know that.
Yeah.
So I know I'm one of them.
I love Ryan Holiday. I
want me to get you to be one of them,
dude. Let's go.
I don't know him that well, but
I'm sure you could make it happen.
Well, I'll ask. Like anybody needs a good speaker, I'd confidently say, hey, dude, this guy will freaking make you look good, and he has good words to articulate the pain and suffering for which most people possess.
Yes.
He'll electrify the crowd and stimulate an emotion.
I like to say that
like
I allow my
Brian
truth to
Bogert.
give people permission to live theirs, and they feel it real time in the moment.
When you put it like that, though, it may just be me, but when you put it like that, it makes me think, okay, like, is that the bigger market? Like,
Which
are there
truth?
No, what that would talk to someone. What'd you just say? How'd you put
I said, my purpose in life, I believe that it's to let my truth give others permission to live theirs. So when I talk about my anger and I talk about how I react defensively, if my wife asks me if I want to spend 2 hours with my kids, And I talk about how my shame lens would make me feel it. I'd get defensive. I'd highlight, I'd react, and I'd snap, and I'd list off the 10 things I did in the prior 4 days to show her I was a good husband and father, when all she wanted to know is, are we going to have plans this weekend? She wasn't making a bomb throw. I took it that way.
I know, but so
when I say that and people identify with that feeling and understanding, all of a sudden they're like, oh, there might be a better way.
I would identify with. I've been in situations, but the way you say it the other way, it makes me. You ever see that teacher on that always goes, okay, what is it?
Okay,
yeah.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't know which one it's sort of.
They're stereotyping kind of almost a hippie-ish, you know. But when you say it the other way, it makes me think, oh, that's for those dudes. The okays.
Yeah, no,
like, you know, I'm seeking permission. I don't think people are fucking even aware that they're seeking permission, but in reality, they are seeking permission.
They absolutely are.
And that's what's funny.
Yeah.
It's like, because if you ask me, fuck, I don't need permission. I ain't seeking permission. Oh, yes, we are.
No, but when you talk about how
if we don't need permission, how come we're not fucking all knocking it out of the park?
That's right.
Because you're seeking permission. You want somebody else to validate something you thought, something you think, something you feel, and you don't act on it yourself because you need somebody else to validate it.
That's right.
And that's seeking permission.
Or to know that it's okay just to feel that way, or that it acts that way, right? Like when we talked last episode was a great one. You were like, oh gosh, like I try to do all these things for the girls, but if something goes wrong or one of the girls gets hurt, I get mad.
Like I do.
Right?
Still do.
Right. And so there's an element of that where a whole lot of people won't even allow themselves publicly to state that. You talked about how you got vulnerable on stage and how people leaned into you. Do you know how many notes I got from people from our last episode that were like, we haven't ever seen Brad like that on Dropping Bombs. And they like loved it because you showed a side about yourself. You shared things on that episode that other people haven't heard about you.
Well, we were ham and egging.
We were ham and egging.
That's the benefit of hamming and egging.
That's the benefit of ham and egging. Plus you get to be full and have a good protein diet, right? What is that, a keto plan?
Well, dude, I got blood work back.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to, at 10 o'clock, by the way, review my blood work, but they sent me the report and it's like, they're all freaking perfect levels. So I knew nothing was major. So I said, we can talk about it later.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of people don't understand their health until they get blood work.
That's right.
Life's a lot like that. You don't understand why you're not moving forward, feeling frustrated, feeling like something's missing, whatever the case is, because you don't have blood work on your life.
100%. It's like, I always say, it's like
Bogert's
flying a plane without instruments, right? If you're not aware, how can you be intentional?
So Brian Bogert's like blood work. He's like getting the blood work.
So here
you go down and get deep.
It is like that, but I'm going to use an industry like buzzword right now, right? I just want everybody to create a little bit more AI in their world. Listen to this.
There's a new buzzword. Oh, I don't
right?
stay abreast.
Right? AI. We know what AI, right?
Artificial intelligence.
AI allows us to automate things. It allows us to understand patterns. It allows us to better connect with people. It allows us to...
What does AI really do? What's AI do?
Well, hold on.
In a nutshell.
Hold on. Listen for just a second. Because I guarantee this is not going in the direction you think it is, right? It allows us to replicate ourselves so that we can literally have systems working for us when we're not there. I'm not talking about artificial intelligence, bro. I'm talking about awareness and intentionality. If everybody invested more in AI,
see what I mean? That was a
intentionality,
finesse, right?
Right? Then awareness and intentionality. Our minds process 11 million bits of information per second. We're consciously aware of about 40. So we're literally largely led by the unconscious. So until we go through a systematic process of moving the unconscious to the conscious, the unaware to the aware, we're going to feel like victims. We're going to feel like life is fate. We're going to feel like we have no influence or control over our destinies, right? You even talk about it, but perspective gives us awareness. Pain gives us awareness. It all starts with awareness, right? Literally, it's like flying a plane with no instruments. It's like understanding your health without knowing your numbers. Awareness is everything because it's about gathering as much information as you can and processing it as real time as you possibly can so that you're actually moving through the world, seeing it accurately for what it is versus what our minds have told us we should think or what our emotion tells us in those moments. Allow ourselves to balance and regulate between intellectual and emotional narratives so that we can see the world accurately. That's what awareness does.
Well said. Folks, if you guys ain't already following this dude, pause right now. Go give him a follow. Hashtag his ass. Go give me a book review. Share this podcast out. And by the way, dude, I appreciate you coming by again.
Dude, happy to.
I might even do a part 3. Why? Well, because, dude, we can just ham and egg it. Because this was partial ham and egg. I wanted to make sure people, number one, know who you are. Number two, freaking understand that, like, if they're in a position, this isn't rocket science. If you got someone that can walk you through how to get out of the states you're talking to or about, the difference is night and day. Depressed, undepressed, happy, sad, whatever. Yep. Like, in my belief, dude, happiness is a choice. Do you agree or no?
I think that happiness is a choice. I don't
think that
joy is. I think joy is a feeling.
I didn't say joy.
I know.
I said happiness.
I think happiness is a choice.
See, most people don't understand that right there. They want to argue that. It's not either, because I can't control if you can't control all that shit, but you do control if you're happy.
That's right.
And it's perspective that puts you there. Be happy you woke up. Then you won't be so unhappy that you need to make a car payment.
Did you see the example you just gave though too? Right? The defense that came out. Well, this happened to me. Like, literally, right? That's what happens in this world. We feel like victims. We feel like fate.
Yep.
Right? So one of the things that I talk with a lot of my clients about, and anybody, so this is a piece that anybody can challenge. If we understand that there's black and white, and we understand the gift is in the gray area, we understand the polarization, we understand all these things, right? Victim versus ownership. I don't care which category we're talking about. If we could force ourselves to look at every single situation as if it was our fault, whatever's happened in our lives, it's our responsibility, then we have our perspective, and we now have a completely contrarian one, which means we see the entire picture. It's probably somewhere in between. So often people are like, oh, well, this guy screwed me. My business partner left me hanging. This, that, the other thing. Did he, or were you an asshole? And they just decided they were going to cut bait and move on. Like, I don't really know. But the reality of it is, if we could challenge ourselves to say, okay, here's what happened. Here's the other perspective, 180 degrees, as if it was 100% my fault, like everything that's happened to me in my world. Then not only the ownership happens, but we get to neutralize and diffuse. We're no longer fighting because we see it clearly. Great example. Okay. I was at an event a couple of weeks ago, and there was a concert at the end of the event, and I was late. I was actually going to bed, and Nate texted me. He's like, hey, she's about to go on stage. Told her that I'd be there. I run down. This was at an event. I catch the last part of her performance. And then I J-hooked around the crowd to go give her a hug. Went up behind her, put my arms on her, and she turned around with just this like warmth, like excited to give me a hug. And then someone swooped in and stole the hug from me and literally said, this is my hug. So what happened? I reacted, right? And I bounced off immediately because I wasn't going to create a scene in front of people, but I got a little angry. It triggered me. So I go to the back of the room. Now, the person came full circle, gave me a hug. We had this beautiful moment. But I was mad, and I was carrying that with me. Resistance and energy drain in my world, right? My perspective was she literally just swooped in and took this hug from me. So I challenged myself to see the other side with some help of a friend. The other side was, what if there was a line of people waiting to give that person a hug? And because I J-hooked, I didn't even see it, and I swooped in, and I actually bifurcated the line. So what did I do? I went up to this person the next morning, and I just said, I owe you an apology. She said, why? I said, I don't know exactly what happened, but I know that I got caught up in myself last night, and I got caught up in the moment. And I swooped in for that hug, and I said, I wasn't even aware that if you or others were standing there waiting for a line, and I think I might have come in and stolen your hug, so I'm sorry. She immediately had registered that. She knew that she had paid attention to that earlier. She did get offended by it. She acted like nothing happened, leaned in and gave me a hug. And then she said, well, all the whole point was to give her more love, and that was accomplished. I was mad, felt resistance and energy drain, so I challenged myself to the other side, and guess what? The other side is actually probably what happened. But I could have easily pointed blame and been like, wow, fuck that. I did actually for about 45 minutes. But I'm so fast to try to remove resistance and energy drain from the way that I operate now. I knew I was angry, and I was like, I got to get this out of my fucking body. I got to figure out what's going on, because I don't like that. I don't like how I feel, and I know it slows me down, and I don't get to see things clearly. And what happens when we get tense? Like literally, we shorten our breath. We deplete ourselves of the very oxygen that keeps us alive. When we get tense, when we get stressed, when we get triggered, right, our breath shortens. It's the only vital organ we have 100% control over. It will operate by itself, or we can control the pace, the depth of how much we breathe, right? So if I know that, I got to get the resistance and energy drain out so I can actually breathe, slow down and take a breath.
Do you teach breath work too?
It is one of the things that we will go through.
Dude,
I don't
you're
teach
like a
breath work
modern
like
day
classes.
polymath. Huh?
Sure. I'm going to fit into a bunch of different descriptions.
Have you ever heard of the term polymath?
I've heard of it. I couldn't define it for you. I understand the, let's Siri do it. Let's ham and egg this one too.
Siri, define polymath.
Polymath means a person of wide-ranging knowledge or learning.
I would like to say that I just have a pretty good understanding of the human experience because I've lived a lot of life in my 36 years.
Folks, we're going to leave it at that. If you guys want to follow this cat, you already been told, but let me tell you again, at Bogert Brian on social media, brianbogert.com. No Limits You, YOU, if you want to freaking engage and get some shit working and going. He does all kinds of free shit. Follow him on YouTube, social media, and the whatnot. Share this out. Someone that you share it with might be the recipient of a magnificent, life-changing episode, as many before have been called. Until next time, keep that shit real.
Dropping bombs with the real Bradley. Subscribe now.